know by now that IoT is a fantastic business opportunity to transform business models and business processes. We've seen examples of this throughout the year, of course, and we've also seen those figures from Gartner and IDC on how the market will grow going forward. However, the IoT journey is not straightforward. We know there's numerous issues around cybersecurity, data collection and privacy. And there's also that whole issue of culture, educating the board on why IoT actually matters. But perhaps the biggest issue at the moment is on IoT standards. There are some 100 IoT standards out there on the market, and these go from the sensor level up to the network and into the cloud. So we came to IoT Build to ask where we are today with IoT standardization.
So I think we're at a really interesting point in IoT. It's still at the early stages. We're looking at it's not quite nascent, but it's coming not quite mainstream either. So we're at that kind of early adopter phase. It's what we see from our interactions and the work that we do. And I think that because of that early stage, I think we've also got a plethora of standards around IoT as well. And I think that is because of the early nature of the market. And I think we will see a kind of consolidation of standards as the market maturity increases.
The IoT standards are a mess. There are literally hundreds of different standards. And I think that what you're going to see in this space is almost like a survival of the fittest. Darwin will play out eventually. Now, I think on one hand, you're seeing a view that the more IP-like you can make those standards, the better they will be. If you can make them the devices specifically addressable, then that will really help. But unfortunately, at the same time, you've got device manufacturers trying to get the chip price down as low as possible, the BOM price down as low as possible, and that means that you won't always get the best standards being applied. So I think it's an interesting space. So where we're playing in that space is that we tend to be very knowledgeable about Zigbee because that's what we've been using, but we're also using Wi-Fi. We're playing with Bluetooth. We're using Bluetooth. We're going to potentially use Z-Wave in the States. So I think that we're interested again in Thread, and we're playing with Thread, HomeKit. We're exploring. So I think, for us, we know our journey, and what we'll do is we'll move to where the market's going.
So if we look at IoT standardization, my take is it's actually too successful. There are just no end of different standards bodies out there. It's easy in a way to set another one up. And the problem is that now everyone's confused as to what the right one is, which ones they should be members of, how they all fit together, what they all mean, what happens when one merges with another. We need to consolidate down to a small, clear focus. If we look at the world of cellular, for example, it's got 3GPP and the GSMA represents the operators, and that's kind of clear and simple. Whereas in the world of IoT, we've just got a confusion of different bodies that we need to resolve.
At the Bluetooth SIG, we recognise that strategically we certainly can't do it on our own. We never thought that. We're a small but important enabler of IoT. So working with other standards bodies is part of what we're trying to do to progress things. Clearly, if you draw a Venn diagram of the things those various technologies are good at, there'll be an overlap in some areas and not in others. We see Wi-Fi as our kind of best friend in the world of wireless technologies. The two are very complementary. Bluetooth Low Energy is great at the things that it's good at working with small devices that have very limited power available to them, things like sensors. Imagine smart homes and smart buildings. They can only be smart if there's lots of data about the conditions that building is in right now, who its occupants are, and what kind of things change over a period of time. So the only way you can have that data is through having sensors everywhere, and practically speaking, given you need to install and power these things, the only way you can do that is with a very, very power optimized wireless communications technology. And Bluetooth is the best in that respect from everything I've ever read from third-party evaluations of Bluetooth Low Energy and the other low power wireless technologies that are out there.